I'd like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission. It's our 10 o'clock meeting on March 11th at 2025. At this time, silence all electronic devices and mute your microphones. Please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 2, Commissioner Wakeman.
Present.
District 4, Commissioner Yeager.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariana.
Here.
District 3, Chairman Stark.
Here. Okay, now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any current or future agenda item coming before the board and on other business under the board's purview. Today's public comment will be handled as follows. First, we will take public comment from those who are here in person. Then we will take public comment from those who have pre-registered for a WebEx link and are currently on queue. We request that when you address the board, comments are not directed personally against a commissioner or a team member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides mutual respect between board members and the public. After stating your name and address for the clerk, a 3-minute timer will be activated. After 2 minutes, a single beep will indicate you have 1 minute left, and when your time is up, 2 beeps will sound and you should close your comments. WebEx participants will be disconnected automatically when their time is up. Do we have any people signed up for public comment this morning?
Yes, we do. We have 2. But first, Mr. Galvin, Scott Galvin, you're signed up for a item P36, which is actually this afternoon. Do you wish to speak at this time?
Yes.
Come forward, please.
Hello.
They'll set it, sir. Just
Okay.
give your name and address for the record.
My name is Scott Galvin. I currently live at 16512 Laura Lee Drive in West Pasco. I'm here to ask today on the ADU laws considering by the Commission. Item 2F, ADU must be built on a permanent fixed foundation, board footers, stem walls, board piers, or engineered slabs. We currently live in an area that's zoned for mobile homes, and what I'm asking for is clarification on whether mobile homes where they're already allowed by zoning to be included in the ADUs. As this language shows that, as you know, mobile homes are not on a permanent fixed foundation. They are placed on blocks, anchored down as required by code on there. So I would ask that this be included in the code for
Madam Chairman.
ADUs.
Yes.
That's a public hearing item this afternoon.
Yes, he knew that.
Okay. And you can, it's legislative, so you can take the comment now
Yeah.
and incorporate it into your record if you wish.
We can have someone meet you outside of
Okay.
the doors this morning, but we don't engage in a conversation and dialogue at this
All
time.
right, thank you.
Can someone, here he comes. Okay, who else? do we-
Charlotte Paxton. Or Peyton.
Hi. My name is Charlotte Pan Salcedo. I'm a homeowner at 11744 Orangewood Drive, Dade City, Florida, 33525, in East Pasco County, which is a little outside the Dade City limits. And ever since I bought my home in April of 2024, there has been nothing but bombarding of traffic on Orangewood Drive. And I also came to clarify the record of Orangewood Drive because the county appraisal's office and Public Works have told me that the west portion of my property is private. And I have been being harassed by code enforcement and law enforcement stating that it is county property when the records don't reflect. And also, there is a business zoned in a residential neighborhood, and the business has exceeded the capacity for that road. The road is completely tore up, and there's been several accidents. It's very dangerous, and I'm bringing this to the attention of the county commissioners because I fear that someone's going to be killed because of all of the traffic and all of the congestion, and nothing's being done about it. I have emailed Ron Oakley. I have emailed the director of code enforcement. I have emailed several police officials, and even filed an internal affairs complaint because I have made numerous documentation of the dangers and photographic evidence and police reports of the dangers of the traffic on that small road. There's a lot of elderly people who live there, which is why I moved there, because I wanted to live in a quiet, condensed neighborhood. And because that business has exceeded the capacity for a residential zone, I was requesting that it would be rezoned, but I was told that I was not allowed to request that, and would like further opportunity to request to have that business rezoned out of the residential area because of the dangers to the community.
Yeah, you still have a minute, but Mr. Carball, is there
Okay.
someone here who could?
I would say probably David Allen.
Okay, David. But David, did you meet with the other gentleman?
No, they had some.
Someone else went outside?
Terry went out.
Oh, Terry went out, okay.
No, Terry went out.
Okay, if you could meet with our Assistant County Administrator, David Allen over here, and our new Code Enforcement Officer, Denise. Head of Code Enforcement, Morning Code Enforcement Officer. Okay, is there anyone online that wishes to?
We have no one online, and that is all we have signed up in advance. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak under public comment? Appearing to be none.
Okay, we'll close public comment, and we'll move on to the consent agenda. I have 3 items. One that was withdrawn by Mike Carbala, C11. And then we have C,
Do
did I miss
consent
something?
or resolutions? We can fly through consent real fast.
She's doing
Okay,
consent.
sorry, I moved on to consent, so we'll do resolutions. This-
You can,
Does it matter?
it's your choice.
Okay,
You can go with
well,
that.
since I started, I'm gonna keep going.
either way.
We have C22, which is pull and discuss from Commissioner Waitman, and C31, pull and discuss. Are there any other items which to be pulled for the consent agenda?
Move approval of the other consent items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Waitman?
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to pull C22 to recognize the efforts that this county's making with improving sidewalks. And so I was just wanting to highlight that to everybody that, hey, we're taking the sidewalk operation seriously in this county to get kids and families to and from schools and where they need to go safely. I'm excited to see the Florida legislature taking up legislation on sidewalks due to the busing issues, not just here, but from around the state. And appreciate those Hillsborough County members who are running those bills. And so with that, I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And C31?
C31, I just wanted to thank, anyway, I see him out there now, but just want to thank 4G for their continued efforts in Pasco County. There's Mr. Goodman. And, you know, recognize that, hey, they're willing to give up over 1,802 acres to apply that to our ELAMP program to save environmentally sensitive lands in this county. So thank you all for willing to do that and take a haircut on your property and help us preserve wildlife corridors and green spaces in this county. So just incredibly grateful. And with that, I move approval.
Second.
Little discussion?
Yep.
And I'd say that is a very key piece for the Eland corridor, so we appreciate it.
Yes, and in that area, the state DOT is building an underpass for the trail to go from one side of 52 to the other. So having this land near there is wonderful, and we hope to get that up to Cypress Crossbar and Albar. So it's going to be a wonderful part of the county, and thank you very much. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're done with the consent. We will move on to resolutions. Res 1.
Resolution number 25146, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, honoring Ronnie Dees for his
Come
service
forward.
to the citizens of Pasco County and congratulating him on his retirement. Whereas, after graduating high school, Ronnie Dees enlisted in the United States Army and then went on to get his bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Alabama and then his certified public accountant license. And whereas Ronnie was hired on September 1, 1988 as the Chief Financial Officer for the Withlacoochee River Electric Cooperative, and whereas Ronnie oversaw the $6 million budget each year and the redevelopment of the Lacoochee area for the Withlacoochee River Electric Cooperative, and whereas Ronnie was very involved with the Boys and Girls Club in Lacoochee, Lake Jovita, and One Pasco Center, and was involved with the Walmart Distribution Center coming to Hernando County. And whereas Ronnie's role at WREC included locating substation sites, negotiating contracts for pole attachments and towers, and other important transactions dealing with business partners. And whereas over the last 36 years, Ronnie was on several boards, including the Pasco County Fair, Pasco Hernando State College, Advent Health Dade City, and the Chamber of Commerce. And whereas Ronnie retired from the Withlacoochee River Electric Cooperative on January 17, 2025, after over 36 years of loyal and dedicated service. And whereas Ronnie will be spending his retirement watching his grandson play baseball, taking his family fishing, working on his ranch with his quarter horses and Angus cattle, spending time with his wife and family, and is thinking about teaching accounting at Pasco Hernando State College.
Huh?
Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby honors Ronnie Dees for his dedication and service to the citizens of Pasco County and congratulates him on his retirement. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 11th day of March 2025.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Mr. Oakley.
Mr. Dees, I never thought I'd see you retire, but you're still a young man.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I've tried to help my community like you all have. It's something we strive to do. I've had a lot of coworkers, friends, and citizens of this county that I have depended upon, that I could always go and ask for help, money, whatever was needed to better our community. And they haven't buried me yet, so I plan on continuing those projects. In fact, I've started a new one in the last few days, so don't be surprised if I knock on your door. But I'd like to see that our senior citizens that are impoverished get an opportunity to go out to a few restaurants occasionally. And that is a goal of mine, and that's the new project we're taking up. And thank you very much for y'all recognizing the work I've done.
I want to thank you. I certainly appreciate the relationship we've had over the years, and it doesn't seem like that's coming in, and I guess it's not. So, but I always knew you had a good message coming to me when you came to visit, and I knew there was a gentleman behind you that actually helped you develop those relationships and things that we need to do for the citizens of Pasco County. Big part of Boys and Girls Club working that to get that building built many years ago, and just the different projects that we worked together. We started with rebuilding Lacoochee, and WREC and Mr. Brown were all really pushing to have that done, and a lot of things have moved up there to the point that we've got 3 new businesses up there now, and one of them probably hadn't finished their construction, but they're going to be very successful, and they're bringing good jobs to that area. Soon to follow will be some homes and workforce housing that'll help people that work there have a place to live. So it's just a part of that big picture. But Pasco, One Pasco Center has done great and continues to look good. And just anything and everything you've touched has been pretty good. We've always agreed to disagree, but we always came out with a good result. So I certainly appreciate your friendship.
Thank you, Ronnie, and thank you for bringing Billy Brown's name up, because he has taught me a lot, and he always put the citizens of this county first and let us know, everybody over there that worked for him, the citizens and our members came first.
Yeah, that's true. Anyone else?
Mr. Waitman.
Thank you, Chair. To piggyback on Commissioner Oakley, the highlights in this resolution don't begin to describe your mark on not just the East Pasco community, but throughout your entire service territory that the co-op covers from here north. And it's safe to say, without you knowing, there are probably many generations of kids and families and the kids of those families that you have helped, whether it's in your professional career with Akuchi or in your outside endeavors in helping to better troubled situations for people. And it's an honor to have gotten to know you over the years and spend time with you. And just congratulations on your retirement. I'm glad you're not going anywhere. And the county's always looking for good finance folks, aren't we, Mike? So, retirement looks good on you. Roll Tide, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you, Seth.
Any other comments real quick? Okay, Commissioner Mariano?
Yeah, Ronnie, it's been an amazing time to work with you through Withlacoochee. The character of the company has been phenomenal, and I'm glad you mentioned, talking about Billy Brown, his commitment to this community led this company in a great way, but it took a guy behind the scenes making all the numbers work and going through everything that you've done. Politically, whenever we've had an issue to come talk about, you've been able to talk to us, show us why it was good for the company, why it's good for the citizens. And every time you've been just dead on the mark. And I really appreciate the time we spent together doing the lunches, and that one time shooting was pretty cool too. But you're just a great man, definitely dedicated to the community. I greatly appreciate the service you've done. You've made this county a much better place. So thank you, and I hope that you enjoy your retirement doing all the things that I'm sure you're going to keep busy. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Jack.
And I just want to say that, my goodness, Withlacoochee certainly hires people with great character. And the tradition continues, and we keep seeing wonderful guys retire. Getting there myself here one of these days. So it's been a pleasure working with you, and I'm sure we're going to work with you more in the future. Enjoy your fishing and your grandson's baseball. Yeah, so it's just an honor to be able to give you this award, I guess, this proclamation, right?
Mr. Dees, you got
Wait, our
something?
clerk wants to say something.
There you go.
Well, I personally have had the opportunity to work with Ronnie a lot
Yeah.
over the years, but on behalf of Nikki, who was in Tallahassee this morning, she wanted to convey to you and Mr. Brown, obviously, thank you for your support of her and the endeavors that they've worked on together. So on behalf of Nikki, thank you also, and myself.
Thank you. Thanks to each of you commissioners, and thank you for the service you provide this county. Thank you.
Ryan, you have family with you? Have them all come up, and we'll take a picture. You want to join me?
A round of applause.
Okay, Res 2.
Res Resolution number 25-148, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, honoring Chief James E. Walters for his service to the citizens of Pasco County and Dade City, and congratulating him on his retirement. Whereas James E. Walters grew up in Inverness, Florida, and attended Pasco Hernando Community College, Gower's Corner campus, where he received his law enforcement certification in 1995. And whereas prior to graduating from St. Leo College in 1994 with a bachelor's degree in criminology, James E. Walters worked as a wrestling coach and an assistant football coach at Pasco High School, and was on the coaching staff when Pasco High School won the state championship in 1992. And whereas in 1995, James E. Walters joined the Dade City Police Department as a patrolman and moved up in rank over the years, including detective, sergeant, captain, and police chief, where he was committed to protecting the life, property, and individual rights while maintaining peace and order and instilling the core values of respect, integrity, professionalism, and service. And whereas from 1999 to 2018, James E. Walters taught at PHCC, now PHSC, as an instructor in the Law Enforcement Academy, teaching well over 1,000 recruits, many of whom now work for the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. And whereas in 2006, then Sergeant James E. Walters earned his master's degree from St. Leo University in Criminal Justice Administration and continued to work at the university as an adjunct faculty in the Criminal Justice Program. And whereas since 2018, Chief James E. Walters has made it a priority to host an annual Back to School Shop with a Cop program to instill in confidence in local students and ensure they have the essentials to be successful in school. And whereas in 2019, Chief James E. Walters was awarded the President's Award through the Greater Dade City Chamber of Commerce and was elected president of the Tampa Bay Area Chief of Police Association in 2022. And whereas Chief James E. Walters took great pride in his commitment in implementing a true community policing model within Dade City, where he promoted his philosophy of stop, walk, and talk to assist in fostering a culture of trust within the community of Dade City. And whereas Chief James E. Walters consistently provided exceptional customer service and professional law enforcement services, as evidenced by the support he has received from the community he served, while fostering strong relationships with Pasco County Sheriff's Office, Pasco County School District, Pasco County Emergency Management, and Pasco County Fire Rescue. And whereas Chief James E. Walters retired on February 28, 2025, after serving Dade City with dedication and distinction for a 30-year career in the law enforcement profession. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, the said board hereby expresses its gratitude and appreciation for Chief James E. Walters and his contributions to the Dade City Police Department, the community of Dade City, and Pasco County, and extends its best wishes to Chief James E. Walters for a long, healthy, and happy retirement. Done and resolved in regular session with a quorum present voting this 11th day of March 2025.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And this one is Seth. Is this Seth?
Yes,
Oh, Ron's again?
I had two. I just had two great guys come forward, so. But Chief Walters, thank you for being here today, and I'm honored to be your friend, and I'm honored to have been with you and seen you in service, and you did a great job for Dade City, and just on and on, the things that you did to make Dade City citizens very safe, and did a great job of bringing everybody together here in Dade City, along with Dade City and the county, to do the right thing for the citizens of Dade City and Pasco County. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Yep. You want to say some more? You got plenty to say, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, we can hear from you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the County Commission. I'm honored to be here today, and I'm grateful for the recognition. I've enjoyed, as stated in the resolution, great partnerships with all of your departments in Pasco County, from emergency management, fire rescue,
Public Works helping out during natural disasters. We're nothing without the partnerships that we have, and we can't accomplish anything by ourselves, as you well know. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the partnership that we had and hopefully continue to have with Pasco Sheriff's Office and just keeping all of our citizens and visitors to this community safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Wayton.
Thank you. Well, Chief, good to see you. Retirement looks good on you. Again, being a municipal police chief is more than just being a chief. You become part-time city manager, part-time sanitation worker, social worker, you name the hats that you've probably worn in your career over the decades. It doesn't go unnoticed. And with your children's programs and making police human towards youngsters and taking away the potential, not intimidating factor, but making your local law enforcement approachable to the youth is something that goes a long way in building rapport between the public and a police department. And you've done a wonderful job with that. And I think, and I hope that legacy will continue. And, just the legacy of public service within your household, within the education world. Thank you both. The untold hours you put into investing in our kids and our community. Public service it's a special job, and thank you both for making a lifetime of that work. So congratulations to you both, and it's good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Does someone else want to say something? Okay.
Well, first of all, happy retirement.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I never knew about Shop with a Cop. That sounds
Yeah,
really,
that's very cool.
really
Yeah.
cool. I'd love to go to that event. And just also thank you to your family for, supporting him, because being a daughter of a police officer, it's not easy being a family member. So thank you for everything you've done for our community, and thank you to your family.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes?
Chief, I want to tell you, you've had a stellar career. The way you've lived your life in this community has been phenomenal. I grew up in a small little town. We had a police chief and a really close association with it. And he was so tied in the community, just like you, with sports. And I think when you tie in sports, just the other activities, it makes the kids feel safe, the families feel safe. It brings the community together. And then when your leadership goes to even a state championship, even better. But I think the pride that you brought to this community and the way you carried yourself couldn't be any better, couldn't be prouder, and I wish you all the best in retirement.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I would echo everything my commissioners have said, and I'm sure we're going to see you around the community still. So congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And this is kind of unique. Normally I sit here and say nothing, but to have two back-to-back. Jim, it was my pleasure to be your city manager at a point in time in the past. And having worked with you on many things, from kumquat to you name it, and being involved with the various organizations that you have assisted us when we were doing our projects. So personally, congratulations and the very, very best. And from Nikki, who, as I mentioned, she's in Tallahassee today, wanted me to be sure to convey to you appreciation for working with the clerk's office and in the many ways that we interact. And from her too, all the best.
Please extend my appreciation to her as well. Thank you. And thank you, Harold. In addition to my family, I know there's some friends in the audience. Would you all come forward for the picture also? I don't know if we're breaking protocol here, but Jeannie, Sid, whoever else, Kelly, Sid. Come up, Chief. Whoever else.
Yeah. We'll have to do two later. If you could. have to have some folks in the front, if you could.
You want to come up here?
Well, then we need
Someone
to.
else has to come up here.
We're gonna, there. Fine. There you go.
Almost sat in your seat. All right. Res 3.
Resolution number 25-145, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, observing Tuesday, March 18, 2025, as National Transit Employee Appreciation Day in Pasco County. Whereas March 18th was selected as National Transit Employee Appreciation Day in commemoration of the very first bus line launched in Paris in 1662 called Carrosse au Sol.
Really?
And whereas the American Public Transportation Association and its partners celebrate Transit Employee Appreciation Day on March 18th, 2025, and whereas transit bus operators, mechanics, supervisors, maintenance staff, station agents, and customer service representatives keep our communities moving no matter the circumstances and should be recognized for outstanding contributions in planning, building, maintaining, and delivering safe, reliable, and courteous transportation services. And whereas the bus operators and support staff of the Pasco County Public Transportation are the backbone of Go Pasco in providing equitable public transportation in Pasco County. And whereas Go Pasco employees navigate public transportation smoothly, safely, and effectively. And whereas Go Pasco bus operators who work beyond the call of duty, especially during Pasco County emergency operations, deserve to be recognized for their extraordinary efforts. And whereas transit agencies around the country are taking the shared opportunity to honor their workforce on National Transit Employee Appreciation Day, showing their gratitude to the industry's dedicated employees through kind words, gestures of appreciation, and by actively promoting the use of public transportation. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby observes Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, as National Transit Employee Appreciation Day in Pasco County, and expresses its sincere gratitude for the professionalism and dedication of transit employees. The board encourages all citizens to thank their bus operators and engage on social media using the hashtag Transit Employee Appreciation Day. Done and resolved in regular session with a quorum present and voting this 11th day of March 2025.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I want to welcome you here, but I think there are
was
more,
just
so
gonna-
if you would,
I was
all
gonna
the
invite them to
transit
the podium,
folks would
please.
come up, that would be awesome, and stand there behind the podium.
So good morning, Commissioners. Paula
Good
Barcaldo,
morning.
Support Services, here with Annette Orlanding, our Operations Manager, representing our Assistant County Administrator, Kathy Pearson, who could not be with us today. Proudly standing here with the Go Pasco team, supporting our bus operators who are the backbone of the services that they provide to the community. And so with that, I'll leave it to Annette to share a few words about the team. Thank you.
Great.
I want to sincerely thank you, Commissioners, for recognizing Transit Day and acknowledging all the vital role public transportation has in our community. And I want to thank all of the people behind me, from bus operators, supervisors, superintendents, safety, who make all this happen every day. Thank you.
That's awesome, and how many people do you have in your department? Do you know offhand?
We have 180.
180? Nice.
120. 120. There's, yeah, 120.
Wonderful. Well, I'll let my other commissioners speak, and then I'll speak. So, anyone else want to say anything about it?
I certainly appreciate the work y'all do. It's not an easy job, but I know that y'all do a very good job servicing our citizens all over the county. So I certainly appreciate that.
Commissioner Yeager?
Yes, I just want to say thank you. you guys were amazing, especially during the storm. I would call last minute and say, hey, I've got a bunch of people, and you guys would go pick them up, and you even were willing to stay late. Like, truly, your dedication to your job just comes through, and I appreciate that so much for everything you guys do in our community, so thank you.
Commissioner Mariano?
And I greatly appreciate the service you provide to our people. Some people really depend on you guys to be able to be there, get them to where they got to go, so it's very important. And I'm just disappointed you only got a day. You should get a whole week.
Mr. Waitman?
Thank you. Yes. Moving people is not easy, let alone driving, keeping your head on a swivel, keeping yourself safe, keeping your ridership safe. You know, there's a lot going on, a lot to think about when you're doing your job for your safety and the safety of our ridership. And it's a big job that you do. And thank you all for choosing to work in this department and providing the service to the folks of Pasco County.
You know, I grew up part of my life in Northern California, and 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, I lived in the hills above Oakland. It's called Montclair, Piedmont, this area. And we looked out over the bay in San Francisco, where I was born in Redwood City. And I literally took the bus with a girlfriend, I must have been 11 then, to San Francisco to get my ears pierced.
Wow.
Did your parents know?
No, yeah. I mean, they weren't with me. But one of my friends had gotten her ears pierced at this jewelry shop, and so that's where I went. And I also used to take the bus with my friends downtown Oakland to the library to work on class projects. I mean, I also took the bus just with my brother and sister from Phoenix, Arizona to Southern California. And my dad would just say to the bus driver, keep an eye on them. Yeah. I mean, yeah, crazy stuff that no one would do for their parents today, but kids today, no parents. But here I am, I survived it all. So I have, yes, go ahead.
Oh, whenever you're done.
Well, I'm just saying, I used the bus a lot in my youth, and as now vice chair of the TMA, it is our responsibility in the Tampa Bay area to find a transit solution for our crowded roads. And if you think they're crowded now, just wait. So it's very, very important that we figure out this solution and we move people more efficiently than the way we're doing these days. So, Mr. Corbala?
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I would just like to add on to that. Mobility is central to our economy. I mean, if we cannot move people, goods, and services, things just don't happen. So I'm always in awe at how you guys pull it off in terms of scheduling and getting to places on time and getting folks moved around. It's absolutely amazing work. So just thank you. Like Jack, I think you should get a whole week. But we'll give you a day. And but thank you for the hard work that you do and you know and the things that you have to put up with. I know there's certain things that come with the job, but you guys handle it like yeomen and get it done. So thank you for that.
Yes, I don't think I've ever had a complaint from any issue with the bus or Go Pasco. So thank you so much. There's so many of you. I think I will come down myself, and board members, you stand behind, and we'll give them their. No, I have 3. Not you. One is great.
Front center.
As much as we could, kind of.
County attorney.
This is fun. Is this for the safety part?
This is for our outreach. I love bringing it, and they're going to say thank you to our bus.
You have to ride it.
Yeah.
That worked.
Do you want, hold on one more.
Do it with the frame this time?
That's what I was thinking, do it with the frame.
You want this guy too?
No.
You really want to stand in front of this bus?
Now you're good.
moving on, 4.
Resolution
Yeager.
number,
Oh, wow, everybody leaves when it's a resolution.
Here we go. We're gonna empty out the. Oh, he's got it.
resolution number 25-147, resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, declaring March 17th to the 21st, 2025 as Government Finance Professionals Week in Pasco County. Whereas founded in 1937, the Florida Government Finance Officers Association serves more than 3,300 professionals from state, county, and city governments, school districts, colleges, universities, special districts, and private firms. And whereas government finance professionals play a critical role in assuring the effective and transparent management of public funds, supporting physical health and sustainability of Florida's state and local governments. And whereas the Florida Government Finance Officers Association is dedicated to being a professional resource by providing opportunities through education, networking, leadership, and information. And whereas Government Finance Professionals Week, sponsored by the FGFOA and all of its member government organizations, is a week-long series of activities aimed at recognizing government finance professionals and the vital services they provide to our state, local government, and the community in which they serve. And whereas government finance professionals serve the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners, promoting prosperity by ensuring sound fiscal management, fruitful investments, and diligent accounting, among many, many other services. And whereas during this week, government finance professionals throughout the state of Florida will be acknowledged for their hard work, dedication, and leadership. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby declares March 17th to the 21st, 2025 as Government Finance Professionals Week in Pasco County, and encourages citizens to extend their appreciation to all government finance professionals throughout Florida and Pasco County. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 11th day of March 2025.
Move approval.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, welcome. Big group. I counted 20.
Wow.
Commissioner Yeager.
Okay, well, I just want to thank you guys for your hard work and your dedication, and also just for your service to our county. I know it's not an easy job, and you do it ethically and transparent, and we really appreciate everything you do. And I wouldn't want your job for anything.
Same, same. No one would give me that job. Who's here from the county? Raise your hand. Okay, and school district? Is anyone here from the school district? And then from the clerk's office? Okay. Any cities? So it's county and clerk? Okay, well, welcome. Do you want to say a few words?
So to my knowledge, Amy Farrell, Budget Director with Pasco County. So to my knowledge, this is the first time that Pasco County has participated in recognizing and celebrating Finance Professionals Week. And because by and large, I don't know if you saw how hard it was to try to get my friends to come up here with me, but they love to be kind of in the background, just that quiet, steady hum that you don't notice when it's there, but in their absence, you would feel it. And they appreciate that type of work, right? Number crunching behind the scenes and not necessarily all of the public recognition. So I won't belabor the point, but I'm honored and humbled to get to call these people my colleagues, my partners, my collaborators, and most importantly, my friends.
Oh, very nice.
Good morning. Heather Grimes, Chief Administrative Officer for the Clerk's Office. Thank you, Commissioner Yeager, for sponsoring this. Amy said a lot of what I was going to say because I do believe it's the first time we've ever had such a resolution. And this group of people behind me, and I've had the opportunity to work with both. When I worked at the board, I worked with a lot of these individuals, and now at the Clerk's Office. They, in my mind, are the unsung heroes. One of the most important things, in my opinion, that this board does is make sure that you're good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and this group helps you do it. They care. They work collaboratively between our two groups, which wasn't always the case if you've been here a long time, but they work very collaboratively to get things done and to do the right thing. And so I just appreciate this board's recognition of this quiet group. They're not like fire and sheriff that enjoy being in the limelight. Like Amy said, they like to hide out. So thank you.
Thank you. Seth?
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, and then Oakley, sorry.
We keep the order.
I can. All right. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for Amy and clerk's office, all of you being here together. This time of year, actually, you come to the forefront. You come out of the back rooms and make sure everything happens right for our citizens and the programs we have to service our citizens. So, very important to all of us. And thank you each for what you do. Okay?
Yeah, Commissioner Waite.
Thank you, Chair. It's fitting that you guys get your week during spring break in Pasco County. Take advantage of it. I'm just kidding. I for one, no secret how I am about managing the taxpayer dollar and managing this budget. And I don't take for granted, and I share this with Amy and Mike as we go through this process, how appreciative I am of your work and how critical it is, to help manage this county. Our number one job as a county commission is to vote on a budget. And we could not do that without your help, without your dedication, without managing 5 quirky personalities at time on what's important and what might not be important during the budget process, or, last minute votes 2 budget cycles ago and we're doing cocktail napkin math. Thank you all. Hopefully you find that as exciting as I do. I, for one, very much appreciate your line of work, and thank you for dedicating and being a steward and a watchdog of our money, and keeping the electeds in this process honest and transparent. So congratulations, and thank you, both sides, the clerk and our team, for coming over this morning.
And I would just echo everything my fellow commissioners have said, and I wouldn't want your job for anything. No, no, no. Commissioner Yeager, there's so many. Why don't you go down and we'll stand.
One more?
Oh, sure. Oh, do you? Okay.
I want to thank you all for the work you do. Clerk's office, for you guys to make sure our paperwork's lined up so everything's done the right way is critical. And for our OMB team, the budget work that you guys do, it's fluid, and it's kind of like it almost finishes one year and we start the next year. We talked about doing things biannually, but I don't think we'll ever get there, just because things change all the time, so it's hard to do that. But I want to say, just coming back from DC, watching the attitude change and looking for efficiencies up there, I want to empower you guys. When you see some things that could be done more efficiently, maybe it's not done quite the right way, whatever, please speak up, bring it all the way up the chain, and let's make sure we're doing the best we can every step of the way. And I want to thank all of you for the great work you do. Appreciate it.
I know you have something to say.
I do. I'm further here because everyone is social distancing from the podium, it looks like. So what you do is foundational, right?
Yes.
I mean, without you, Amy, I think you described it perfectly. It's that quiet hum in the background that we take for granted and should take for granted, but it's foundational to how we invest, how we're transparent and accountable to the taxpayers, and how we invest their hard-earned money into the services that they've asked us to provide them. So I can't thank you enough for that. I'm married to a government finance professional, so I understand what you guys do, what you go through, and sometimes even we at the administrative level can be a little quirky with some of the hoops we make you jump through. Just well, what if we did it this way? What if we did it that way? But you always do it, you do it well, and you do it precisely. And that's what's great. You can always just count on what it is that you guys do. And so I just thank you for your professionalism, your attention to detail, and just your dedication to the job that you've been called to do. So thank you.
And one more from the clerk.
Well, just to add on what Mike was saying, working together, as we announced to the board here about a month ago, Matt, that once again for the 41st year, Pasco County has been awarded the Excellence in Financial Accounting, which it takes both sides to make that award happen. So we can be proud of a long history that they are under tremendous pressure to not lose. So,
ooh, that would be not a good day.
I'm just saying what Nikki I've already heard, but no, it takes both sides to make it work, and And as Heather said, I've been around watching a long time, and I cannot remember when the relationship and communication has ever been better than it is today.
Wonderful. All right, let's take a photo. Yeah, stay, right here.
Keep the order.
More of you could go over there. Like a couple of you could fly. As much as possible. You might have to have like a couple of you come in front.
Social
If you
distancing
could.
is out the window.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we are now on to our Rs, and so we will start with R32.
R32 is,
Mr. Mance.
actually, we have to withdraw R32 now.
Oh.
He was unable to on the presentation today, so we'll
Okay.
reschedule it for another time.
Okay, so R33. I didn't see him here, so I was wondering.
The gang's all here.
Budget director?
She just left.
Basking in the week
All right, so Amy Farrell, Budget Director with Pasco County Office of Management and Budget. So today's presentation is both a follow-up and then a completion of the January 28th board meeting where we started talking budget and strategic direction. The board had asked us to come back and also do a deeper dive into municipal services taxing units, talking about kind of how they work, pros and cons, and then some topics that we ran out of time covering in the January meeting.
We have a handout, board members somewhere. Yeah.
Yep, so you should have the presentation in front of you.
Everyone have this? Do I have two? Maybe I kept someone's. Oh, no, this is from last week. Is it the same as last
It's the same,
meeting?
yep.
Okay, I have an extra one.
I need one.
Is there one for Commissioner Mariano?
Here, we can have this one, we got the screen.
I got rid of some screen.
All right, so the agenda today is laser focused on municipal services taxing units and our long-term capital planning. All right, so just some general information around what I will continue to refer to as MSTUs rather than saying the full four words. So the intent is to fund municipal-like services and/or essential facilities. It does require an ordinance to be established and trim notices and tax bills updated by July 1st so we can stay compliant with our trim process. If we have a current ordinance that we'd like to revise, the target date to do that would be by May so we can make sure that we can include it in this year's trim process. It does take 5 votes to establish a millage rate and typically 4 votes to maintain. And if the cities were to be included and to contribute, they must adopt an ordinance to do so by that same July 1st deadline. Do we have any questions about kind of what I call the rules of the road, so to speak?
When you say, I have a question.
Yes.
When you say to maintain, is there a vote on an MSTU every year?
So for the millage,
number?
yep.
And so it's 5 to create it, 4 to move it up or down?
It's
Or
typically 4 just to maintain what
Status
to maintain status quo, and it has to do a lot with the different criteria in how you calculate rollback rate from the prior year, and then what level of votes is required to generate a certain amount of revenue. So,
It follows similar rules to your general millage in terms of rollback rate.
all right, any other questions before we move on? All right, and we can always come back. All right, so pros and cons. To be honest, I think pros and cons might be a little bit too strong of words because there might be some perspective that would say something in the con column should be moved to the pros column because it really is about perspective. But we did just try to divvy them out in a way that maybe makes some kind of sense. So when you have an MSTU, there is non-competitive funding, meaning whoever is in receiving that tax revenue, you're only competing amongst others who might be in that tax revenue. So for instance, our fire MSTU, our fire's the only one in there, so all of that tax revenue does go to fire, so it's less competitive in that sense. There's a lot of transparency on the trim notice because there is a very specific, this millage that will equate to this much tax provides this level of service. So that is kind of a one-for-one, which we don't necessarily have in our general fund because there's a lot of services being provided with that one taxing source. To increase the tax, that particular business unit would make the case for that increase, not necessarily the board. And ensuring that you're not paying for duplicative services, so we'll use law enforcement as an example. If that were in an MSTU, it would be carved out. Cities, only the cities that aren't providing that service or opt into that service would be contributing rather than potentially a global contribution in the general fund millage where there might also be some county or city services that are the same or similar. All right, so we'll move on to the con side. So cities do not inherently contribute, meaning they would have to opt in. What was that? That last bullet on this slide, the cities would have to adopt an ordinance to opt in for that municipal service taxing unit. If they don't adopt an ordinance, it could lead to increased costs for cities. Administrative work, there is additional administrative work when you have an MSTU on the board side. For a property appraiser, our tax collector, whenever there's an additional levy, there's just going to be administrative work associated with it. And the board does pay the cost of those trim notices. So if it were to, for example, generate an additional piece of paper in that trim notice, the board would pay those costs. And then when we use an offset millage methodology where we reduce the general fund to increase an MSTU millage, there is a compounding revenue loss to the general fund, but there would also be potential for a compounding revenue increase to that business unit you were to slide over to an MSTU, and we have an example so you can kind of see how that shakes out. It's a lot of information. Do we have any questions before I move on to the next slide? All right, so we have two examples here for you. We have one example of a parks MSTU, assuming that the cities do opt in and contribute, and then we have a second example, assuming that the cities would not opt in and contribute, just so we can see how that math works. It is important to notice that our current state in the general fund, we are not providing $8 million worth of program revenue to parks capital maintenance. So this would be new monies. We do have $100 million dedicated for parks, but those are for projects at $50,000 or less that they can complete within 1 year. 1 million, what did I say? Oh, yeah. That's not what I meant.
Woo! Tastes like.
Woo! There we go. All right, so the actual millage number don't necessarily get tied to what that millage number looks like right now, because as you all know, in June we get preliminary taxable assessed value from the property appraiser. In July we get final taxable assessed value. So that number is subject to change based off what those taxable assessed values are. It's really that third column where it says program revenue that you would want to be paying attention to, and then the last column where it says new revenue or growth to parks over 5 years. So we'll talk about that one in more detail. So let's use the middle example of operations, where we're looking at what millage would we need to generate roughly $23.7 million, which is Parks' current operating budget, if we were to just take that operating budget out of the general fund and move it to an MSTU. So using the same growth assumptions that we use for our existing fire MSTU, we've looked at assume a flat line budget of $23.7 million for 5 years. And then using our growth assumptions in the MSTU, we've looked at what is that delta from $23.7 million and what we anticipate additional revenue to be. Over 5 years, that program would grow by $28.9 million. So that explains that compounding revenue increase in the MSTU, and then that would be an
By or to? You said it increases by 28 million. Do you mean it increases to 28 million?
No, but that's how much additional revenue over a 5-year period, if you never change the millage rate, would get generated in that MSTU above and beyond the $23.7 million operating budget.
So what's happening is the parks budget being separate into the MSTU would organically grow by 28.9 million if the board did nothing else. So the board could either modulate that millage, right, to control the growth of the parks budget. Right now, that growth occurs in your general fund, and then it is used to fund other things. So if you move it to that MSTU, it's not available there, but it is available here. And I think that was the last item that Amy was trying to hit on, that compounding effect. I hope that makes sense.
Right, so the compounding effect is...
The parks budget does not, no, I'm sorry, Amy. The parks budget right now, it maintains a pretty flat growing in the general fund. So when departments come forward and they have budget requests and proposals, they're competing within the general fund for those dollars. So the parks budget would not increase much more over 23.7 million normally. But if it was in an MSTU and that MSTU was allowed to grow, that revenue would be isolated and kept in parks, or the board could decide to reduce millage or do something else with it. Right now it grows within the general fund, and then it is used to cover other things like corrections, libraries, there could be other public safety, sheriff's budget, et cetera, where those dollars are currently allocated. But
so are you saying that in 5 years our general revenue fund will more than double?
No, what she's saying here is...
Well, that's what she's saying there, that in 5 years, if the operations is 23.7 million
yes, the parks budget could theoretically double, of course.
No,
theoretically.
our general revenue fund.
Your general revenue fund would not.
Well,
no.
why would that and...
Because that's not in your general fund anymore. You've taken it out. The assumption here that what she's showing is that we reduce, it's been mentioned here before, that pull parks operations and pull parks maintenance into their own separate MSTU. The example that she's showing is if we took parks budget, which is currently 23.7 million, and we removed it from the general fund, that represents 0.4715 mils. So you establish an MSTU at that. Now parks budget is set at 23.7. You make a commensurate reduction in the general millage, which lowers you from 747 right now, which is about where we're at, to 695. Okay, and so now your general has been cut. Your parks is running, so the dollars that would have grown in your general fund are not growing there anymore. They're going to grow in your parks.
I just thought it grew to 28. I didn't know it was an additional.
It actually would be a larger number in your general fund because you have a larger base and a larger millage. And again, those dollars would not be available in the general fund because normally we would not grow the parks budget at that rate.
Right, and nor should we. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Right, and so to Mike's point, it's important to understand that what we're bringing before you in terms of examples are assuming a net neutral impact to the taxpayer, right? So they would be paying the same taxes, it's just a little bit less for our general fund and then taxes for the parks MSTU. So we did run these scenarios assuming net neutral impact to the taxpayer.
So I just have a question. So this is just to operate the parks, right? That's not.
That second one would be to operate.
And that's not making any improvements or anything like that? Just operating?
Correct. Just their ability to grow their program based off of taxable assessed value growth and then how the board decides to set that millage on an annual basis. The third scenario would assume that we're looking at building their operations budget plus $8 million of capital maintenance in there as well, which is not how they're currently funded this year.
Amy, for clarity,
Yes.
that's combining with the MSTU that the board last year coupled with into this new example, correct?
Right, so
Well,
let's say the board wanted
putting that
to
in-
opt into something like that third one, it would require an amendment to the current ordinance, which we would have to put that into action by around May. That way we can hit our trim requirements and deadlines for this year.
Are you wanting us to discuss this now?
Well, so I just want to show one, I would like us to discuss it, but I do want to show one more example. So this is assuming that the cities raise their hand and says, yes, we want to opt in, and they adopt their ordinance in order to do so. We do have a second example. If the cities did not raise their hand, opt in, adopt an ordinance and say they want to participate, it does look a little bit different. This one would have an impact to our homeowners. Worst case scenario, a little over $7 annually based off $150,000 taxable assessed value. So scalable based off taxable assessed value.
Seth?
Amy, so, because I know what they're thinking. So the municipalities, correct me if I'm wrong, after discussing this, and thank you all for using this as an example. This is exciting stuff for me. The municipalities share into our park system is what, $1 million collectively?
For
Within the park system, what we consider. Say this goes through and we're not collecting, to Commissioner Mariano's concern, is this, the municipalities aren't paying in. What are we not collecting from them? Roughly $1 million total?
What's the sum total of?
It's a de minimis amount.
We don't have big cities.
So my point is,
I don't think I
is
have that
by
with me, but I can
doing-
get it.
my point to that comment is with the interlocal, because back in the pros and cons section, we might be able to get more out of our city partners to help towards the fields, and not, right now, they're contributing basically nothing. But they're using it and wearing out our fields, so the current formula doesn't work. Anyway, that's for a discussion point, so anyway, thank you.
I do have a question on that too. We took over the baseball fields for the city of Newport Richey. Keith, you may need to stand up here, I don't know. We took over the baseball fields, I think, for the city of Newport Richey. I can't think of any sports fields that the city of Newport Richey operates and maintains, just off the top of my head. Are there any?
No.
And Dade City?
There's a handful in the city of Dade City.
Is Burke's maintained by the city or
No,
by the county?
that's a county facility.
Okay, is there a soccer complex maintained by the?
I wouldn't call it a complex, but there's some single fields sprinkled within the city limits, yes.
That doesn't count. And Zephyr Hills, do they have any?
They also have a handful of fields as well.
So, to me, there's two ways to go around this. One, our cities are not that big. So it's not a big issue to me, but it would be nice if they participated if we go to this. The other way around it is if you live in the city and you're on a county field, they could pay a fee to use it, depending on your home address, if that was an issue to a commissioner. But, you know, or maybe we say cities of a certain size and not, I mean, San Antonio, St. Leo. How many people live in San Antonio?
The only thing I have to add is, living in this city, I pay, of Newport Richey, we pay $4,000 worth of taxes to live in the city.
Yeah.
I feel like they should contribute.
Okay,
I want
so-
our tax dollars going somewhere.
All right, so, okay, so then, do we want to look at just taking, I think what we talked about earlier was the maintenance being in an MSTU, or do we want to discuss the whole caboodle going in?
The maintenance MSTU is what made it all the way to being, all the way across seeing ordinances in place. This would combine the maintenance piece that we made it to the end of the budget cycle but didn't fund, and then the remaining pieces of the parks budget. And this is what I was advocating for last year. Within this, obviously, you see the compounding growth, which gives the board an opportunity to manage that growth and just, if you don't like the growth, reduce the taxes and grow with it. And then Keith's department can do what they need to do, and their funds not being rated. I'm for, and I'm going to continue, I'm for an all-encompassing parks MSTU based on, I think, this fantastic presentation that Amy's team put together of why I think it's important that we go through the exercise and look at the park budget through this example. And then obviously Keith's, I'm going to speak for Keith, but I think Keith has probably had some conversations with the municipalities, and he may have a solution which may alleviate some of Commissioner Mariano's concerns. But again, I think this is a very healthy and fantastic discussion, and I'm very glad that we're doing the parks as an example of the MSTU.
For me, it doesn't matter to me as long as we get the money to safely and professionally operate and maintain our parks. And we have more parks coming online with no money to maintain them. We shouldn't even open a park. You know, every time we open a park, it needs to have the corresponding maintenance in the budget. Yeah, I mean, that's very irresponsible to open something and the maintenance is, and you can't maintain it, you can't mow it. So we have to have a plan to get him the maintenance money he needs.
Chair Starkey, what I'm hearing you, so you're favorable of exploring the opportunity of combining an all SMSTU for the parks?
Yeah, I would go either way. Now, obviously, I don't think it's appropriate that, I mean, we've got to keep the parks budget at the right number.
Well, that's our job.
Yeah, and so that MSTU delta that isn't needed by the parks needs to go back into general fund. And so we just have to tweak that number every time, right, every year.
No, we just do a budget of a millage reduction.
Clarify the last thing that you said about putting money back into the general fund, because once it's in the MSTU, that's where it is. So unless you make changes to your general operating millage.
Right, we can do that every year, right? We say how much should be in the parks MST.
You certainly can. I mean, I don't know what that, when I say modulate, that may be increasing some years, cutting other years to.
Well, can't they tell us what the number is?
Well,
it depends on growth.
The problem that you can reduce the MSTU millage easily. Putting it back in the general millage, you're going to still, it's not seamless. You're going to have to then have an extraordinary vote, likely, because you'll be above the rollback rate.
Right.
So you can't just take it and put it into the general back. It's going to, the way the statute operates is it's going to be considered an increase to your general millage that then has to go through the.
Oh, and then people say we raise taxes?
Right, four or five votes.
I was waiting for Jeff to finish, but that's what I was
that's
going to
concerning.
say is that, you know, everything from Washington DC is they're like trying to, you know, save, and I know we run very thin, but to the taxpayer, it's going to look like we're raising taxes.
Yeah.
So as soon as they see that MSTU on their tax roll, so how do we accomplish what we want to accomplish without having a tax?
Well, we can't.
No.
Simply it would be a
Close the parks.
reprioritization of how you want to spend money.
Right.
I mean, so right now, we put money into various buckets during the budgeting process. If this board says, you know, look, we want that $8 million, it will come from somewhere within the existing funds, and we reprioritize, and that's how it would be spent. I mean, that's how you would do it.
Mike, we're taking the total, we're pulling the millage dollar for dollar essentially off the general operating fund. So there's 7 mills, we pull 4 mills. So
that's a good thing.
You know, we have 3 mills in, this is hypothetical, in the general fund, the 4 mills go to the parks budget. So it's flat. So there'll be a reduction in one, and you're just taking that money and putting it into another, but the millage rates balance out. So there is no tax. Where we have an opportunity as a board is when it comes time to renew the parks MSTU, this board has an opportunity to reduce taxes by cutting millage in the Parks MSTU to keep that fund where it needs to be. So there's an active vote, discussion, public hearing. People may advocate, hey, I want to have more money in parks. We may not, but it gives the board total autonomy to cut that tax as they want in any board into the future. And that's why I think this MSTU is a good move, and because it protects it, it's transparent to the taxpayer, it's transparent to what the needs are, because it's a budget, a bank account for that particular duty of those funds, which is to fund the parks. I'm all for this plan. And so.
Let me follow up on, I think I had something backwards. So, because Keith, if you don't mind, can you go back to the slide that was there before this one? So operations in 5 years, so right now you're at 23.7, and maybe, and like I am not the finance person in my family. It's 23.7. If I understood what they were saying, you're gonna take 23.7 and add 28.9 in 5 years.
No, that's.
Okay, well, that's what you said, you said.
That's the anticipated growth
Okay,
if the
well,
operation was
before
in.
you said it's new revenue, 28.9.
It is. That is what we would project.
That's what, it grows from 23 to 28.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is maybe what you do need.
Well, so I think Mr. Carballa explained it. Yeah, that's over 5 years, but I think Mr. Carballa explained this great. So currently, the parks operating budget is not growing this way. So I think this example is an opportunity for it to grow like the ad valorem in the general fund, but in its own dedicated taxing unit. So I think what OMB is trying to explain here is that as costs of goods, services, and contracts increase, just operationally, we would probably be able to address that through a dedicated ops MSTU. The piece that's not clearly called out yet, or has not been resolved, is the third line, is the maintenance piece.
Which also needs to grow.
Right, but would also grow in its own taxing unit as well, correct?
Okay, maybe I didn't ask it right, but the way I thought you were saying it.
That is the sum total.
Yeah, so if you add
The total
year.
of the growth.
Yeah, if you add, and this is projected, right? So things are subject to change, especially 5 years out, right? But that's our projected year 1 plus year 2 plus year 3 plus year 4
Right, I got
plus
it.
year 5.
That isn't how it's explained.
Assuming we don't touch the millage and our growth assumptions 5 year out are accurate.
I mean, we're adding more and more parks, and so his budget his operations needs to grow, and so does maintenance.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So the bottom line is we control the budget. If we want to increase the budget, I don't need an MSTU to increase the budget. We can just do that and put it in there. And if you're worried about protecting it, well, so be it. It's going to take a vote every year, as we do our budget every year, to keep funding in. When the economy went to in the toilet back in '07, guess what? We had to cut, and we cut hard. Did we cut too much? Maybe we did, but guess what? That board made the decision, and that's what we had to go with. The problems I have, number one, you're going to put 91% of the population to pay for all these parks. And it's not right because everybody uses them. Everybody needs to come to the table if you're going to go this way. Then my major objection goes away. The other thing you've got to look at is you've got CRAs that are out there. I've got very wealthy people, very wealthy homes that are still in the CRA. The city of Newport Richey has no plans to ever get rid of the CRA. Port Richey, they've cut a few things back. I haven't seen any more cuts in a few years now. I think we need to go look at those CRAs too, because that's taking money out of our county operations that could be in there, that those guys are just gone. And do you think Port Richey's 100%, Newport Richey is 100% blighted? Do you think Newport Richey's 90% blighted? Our taxpayers for the county are paying the freight for them people to go work these CRAs, and I don't agree the way it's being done. I think we should be looking at that if you want to increase and help this. But again, back to the basic points, if you get every single city in, I think it's okay to go this way if you want to separate it out. But if you don't have every single city in it, it's not fair to the regular county taxpayer.
Okay, and I want to clarify something that if the MSTU grows more than is needed, all we have to do is roll that back. We don't there won't be necessarily any extra revenue to put back into the other, and we don't have to touch the other, although it wouldn't be a tax increase, it would be a tax decrease, because potentially we'd be adding money back into the general fund, so.
Right, so for example, if that year one operations, right, so that sum total is 28.9, if that year one was $2 million and we decided that the parks budget only needs to grow by $1 million, then you could reduce the millage to only provide $1 million of revenue to parks that year. Now, based on your current setup, and again, I just don't want to foot stomp this, is that additional million would have normally resided in your general fund. But when you make the reduction, as this is, you know, a dollar for dollar reduction, you will not have that growth in your general fund. Right now, what happens is other things get prioritized, and that's why your parks budget kind of grows at the rate that it does. So you would have to make other decisions regarding what other expenses may be coming due to the board.
Well,
That's
we're not.
I'll throw out there on that item.
We don't budget parks the way we should. And Commissioner Yeager, there is no 8 million in our budget there is no money in our budget for keys maintenance. That's why we are talking about MSTU. And it is the way that many places fund their parks. Hillsborough County funds it this way. I don't know if you've done an analysis of how many counties they fund it through MSTUs. Sometimes it's the county-wide, sometimes it's in districts, so. Keith, have you talked to any of the cities?
So when we did the impact fee study, we did an analysis, and it's a mixed bag, Commissioner. So I will say this, though, talking about just the growth in the general fund. So my team did an analysis from 2017 to present, and we looked at our adopted budget on goods, services, and contracts to present day, and we compared that to an inflationary 6% increase from 2017 to present. And what we should have gotten through natural growth was almost $2 million more than what we have currently today from 2017. So I think the county administrator is saying it very clearly. It's ultimately going to come from some other place in the general fund. So I've been your parks director for almost 8 years. I haven't seen that growth come to this department specifically. Right. So we are kind of continually falling behind. Whatever.
Yeah.
Chair, it's my viewpoint of this, and maybe I didn't articulate as clear as last year, it's a restructuring of our budget. It's not an increasing in taxes, it's just right. Restructuring the money that we have and putting that money to work differently. Yeah. And have a better compounding effect. Look at the fire MSTU. It's performing really, really well. I think it's from when it was increased 2 years ago, I think it's outpacing its projections, at least last budget cycle. Seemingly it was performing really, really well. And that just further reinvigorates my support for really considering something similar for parks. And then we tackle the other issues at hand, the way that the board sees fit. Again, thank you guys, Amy. Yeah. And the team for doing it, and Keith for being patient with me. I greatly appreciate it. And Commissioner Mariano's points are very valid. And, I think however we need to do it, get the buy-in from the cities need to have skin in this game too. And I don't disagree with that. But I don't want to rely on the cities for the overall greater good of our park system and what needs to happen. But they need to be in the room where this happens and have skin in the game.
And I'm going to agree with you, Commissioner Waitman. I think this is, actually, I'm more and more supportive of just putting it all in the MSTU. I'd like to know what the cities feel.
Me too. Yeah, so. I think one of the, at least, this is fun. Yeah, we should do this more often. So I appreciate using my department as an example. This is fantastic. Yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable talking about it. And I'm probably more excited than Commissioner Waitman to discuss this. Timing. So I think the reason we wanted to get this on the agenda quickly is timing is really important. I hear Commissioner Mariano's point in terms of the cities. We've had some conversations with the cities. There's, again, mixed interest in terms of, because no one really at the time knew what the number would be. I think Amy, you said that we have to have the existing ordinance that the board approved for parks capital maintenance last year revised by May, correct, ultimately? So that's one paragraph. It's, we can work with the county attorney's office, we can get that section cleaned up, and then we can kind of, get ready for the budget cycle. What I would ask is that maybe the board give us an opportunity. If we don't do that, and we have the cities ahead of that, then we have to negotiate with the cities first before we do anything at all, which means that the Parks Department would fall another year or two behind in critical funding. So I guess what I'm asking for direction is a modification of the existing ordinance to go to an all-in MSTU number with the condition that we would work with the cities to structure some kind of ordinance or interlocal agreement after the fact. That's the direction I think we're looking for, because we need the time to do the work.
That's what I'm in favor of.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So before we get to that, there's a couple things I do want to add in.
Let me go,
Okay.
please. Thanks.
Okay.
So I've got some friends that played soccer. They played either in Pinellas or Hillsborough. When they went down to play down there, they surcharged them to come in to play. So maybe the way to make it work to the balance of fairness I'm trying to get for the county employees is maybe if a city doesn't participate,
There's a surcharge.
you've got to do some calculations, because you're going to
Yeah, I
have to do your
agree.
homework. I need you to go comparison for what Hillsborough and Pinellas does.
Yeah.
We're going to find out what the surcharge would need to be to balance it out.
Yeah.
And if you can do it that way, because, let's say, politics and whatever, they may not do it even though it's the right thing to go do, but if you can balance it out financially, that the burden doesn't fall on the county people, maybe that's the way I can get to that point. But it's going to take the research, the numbers to go figure out the way to do it, and that would keep it fair, which is what I'm trying to make it happen.
I personally think it should be for cities of a certain size. I mean,
Everybody.
even as St. Leo.
Everybody.
So that's just a fee,
All right.
to Commissioner Mariano's point, that's a fee schedule update. There's a way to audit it. I'm sure we could figure that out. And I think Amy wants to just talk about a number if we don't include them, what that number would be.
And I just want to say one more thing.
Yep.
Keith, you are doing a phenomenal job with the parks.
Thank
What
you.
you're doing is incredible. I got some slides up at Sunwest, the improvements that are going on there, the ones that are coming right up. What you're doing with parks is phenomenal. And I
Thank
think, we saw Jim Walters today get his resolution. The involvement of sports with families is phenomenal, right? It just keeps the families together, it keeps them going, playing. And for the seniors who want to go out and just go for a walk and be able to have a place to go, parks are critical to the livelihood of Pasco County making this premiere. So you're doing a phenomenal job with it. I want to help you get there, but I think we might have a path at this point.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Can I just throw something out there, and
Yeah.
we could talk about it at a different time, but maybe see like how our pennies spent, and maybe some of our, because I'm on Pinellas right now, and that's how they pay for their infrastructure, their parks, helps with the jails, things like that. Is there any way we could relook at how our penny is spent?
So,
I would have the
Commission-
county attorney answer that question, because we
Well,
already
Madam Chair?
passed our penny.
So-
Yeah.
So there is already a portion of the E-LAMP penny that is actually going to parks infrastructure for natural resources improvement. So I think it was 10% of all revenue proceeds over the life of the penny. So that's for-
No, 10% of the county share.
of the E-LAMP portion, not.
And
not-
just to remind you, Commissioner Yeager, 40% goes to the school district of our penny, 10% goes to the cities, which maybe that's where they pay for their parks part out of, and 40% comes to the county, of which that is divided into specific categories: transportation, economic development, and the E-LAMP program. So it's kind of set in its lane already. Is that right, County Attorney?
You've renewed for 15 years.
Yeah.
You could have that discussion in 15 years.
Yeah.
But to Commissioner Yeager's point, there's already an allowance, at least for some infrastructure, to the tune, I think, of $8 to $10 million.
But those are specifically within E-LAMP.
With E-LAMP.
So natural resources-based amenities, so it could be like a wilderness park, it could be an E-LAMP infrastructure project, yeah, things like that.
So we're giving the cities 10%,
Yes, cities get 10% of that.
so I say
They participate.
they participate for our parks.
I had a talk with Keith this morning, my monthly, where is my Anklet River Park plan from health? Seems like it's been years. And we're renovating that park. It's way overdue. We bought half of it from Duke years ago. And he said, well, Commissioner, yeah, they're, 60, 70, whatever percent, but he doesn't have the money anymore to renovate it, because he had to take it from that to renovate and fix some other parks. So he is woefully behind. I know we want to add a Little League field in Commissioner Yeager's district. We've got the Little League complex coming up in Bexley. Hopefully, we're going to do Maggie Valley, make it into a park. We've got some parks over here that are desperately needed, and he has had no increase in his maintenance budget that barely kept what he's had in the past. So, you know, how do we add a new park without maintaining it? So we have to take a step. And remember that this would be a reduction in the general equal to the MSTU. So it's not a bottom line increase per se. It just depends on what we do with the general, the millage, when that time
Chair
comes.
Starkey?
Yes.
Hey, so Keith, for the sake of
And
this
then
conversation on direction, in the paragraph that you have to tweak,
Yes, sir.
can you add, if Commissioner Mariano goes forward with it, because it's a unanimous deal,
Mhm.
can you add the surcharge, like the and/or or something in the surcharge language in there?
I'm looking at Mr.
That way,
Steinsley.
to cover at least.
Cover it all.
You know,
Yeah.
preliminarily, like last year, if we get this thing, we can bring it all the way to the finish line and not fund it. But the
Yep.
structure's in place, which to me is important, which is
Well-
the foundation of what we did last year, so.
We can't go another year without
You know,
maintenance
we
money.
need Commissioner Mariano on this.
Madam Chair?
Well, the attorney was going to answer that, and then I'll go to you.
So I'm not sure how you would do a fee or a surcharge that was not on league play to begin with. It may be legal. It's not something we've been asked to look at. But it's not part of the MSTU, even if it is legal to put it on. So I wouldn't, it would not be part, I
It's not
wouldn't see it
necessary.
would be part of the ordinance. You can, it's really a resolution, a fee resolution, or a parks operational resolution. It's not part of the financing vehicle called the MSTU.
Madam Chair, if I may, I think
Yeah.
maybe a way to do this would be to estimate the lost revenue, you know, of all the cities, develop the surcharge, I think that Commissioner Mariano was referencing, and then kind of get that into the fee structure at a separate time. I don't think it necessarily needs to be included into the ordinance language for the MSTU.
Agree.
But to identify that gap and the desire for them to, you know, to participate, I think that's how we can. And then to Commissioner Starkey, to your point, it would, obviously, maybe the surcharge is based on population by jurisdiction. I'm just, literally, Amy and I are just kind of,
Hanging
it's an oversimplification of, I think, how to get there, but that would be the path, I think, on the analysis, in my opinion.
And so too, what is that number that we would need to make up from the cities? So my team ran the number based off that second example of operations, and it comes out to roughly 2.18 million that the cities would be or would not be contributing.
Okay. Commissioner Mariano?
I'm comfortable trying to find a way. I wouldn't expect it in the MSTU, but as long as we're making policy for us, setting it up with a resolution, probably simultaneously pass them at the same time so we know, and the people know, here's why we're doing it, here's how. I think it'll be tougher to get, I mean, the league play is the easier part to get done. I think it's going to be harder with the passive parks when you factor that in. So that number could be really small anyway, so it may not be worth chasing. So if it doesn't meet all the money revenue loss, that's okay, as long as we're close to offsetting it so that people of the county aren't paying the full burden.
Yeah.
The multiple employees you're going to have to hire for parks to chase down the single person that comes on.
Just like,
is not.
just like we had the $2 fee at Hudson Park, it didn't make sense. We spent more money collecting than we did going forward.
Yeah.
So for all that reason, not worth it, but I think for the league pay, it kind of mirrors what Pinellas Hills Road does for out-of-county people.
Yeah.
Now we're just going to do it for the same effect of.
Out-of-county people.
Out of MSTU people.
Yeah.
For the same principle.
Commissioner Oakley, you good with proceeding?
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that we've got the money we need for the parks. And,
Yeah.
I think I need just to sit down with Amy and them and Keith and figure this out myself, so.
Okay, well, it sounds like you've got board support to move forward.
Yep.
And
so I just wanted to remind the board, secondary order effects. with a reduction to the general fund millage, you would also see a reduction, to Commissioner Mariano's point, to what we actually contribute to the CRAs, because that is based off of, that's based off of that as well.
There you go.
And then just a reminder that the current agreement with the board, between the board and the sheriff, is 40% of additional growth. So, just big picture, all of the different muscle movements on how this thing plays out.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Amy, that's a great point with the CRA, so you can factor that in too, and I'll be comfortable with that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good point, yeah. Okay. Wow. Is there any more on this slide?
Oh, so we do have a couple more slides. So we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't hear what all 5 commissioners had been saying. So we also put together some other ideas if the entirety of the board did not want to move towards adjusting and amending the current park. So we did throw up a couple more options that you would have. So I'll just go over them really quickly. Requesting, one of our commissioners, I believe it was Commissioner Waitman, had brought up constitutional officers getting moved into an MSTU as well. So just a reminder, another way we could still maintain that level of transparency that we would like that an MSTU would give us could be more detailed budget submissions and presentations from our constitutional officers, or maybe leveraging an earmarked policy in the general fund, which is not something that you would vote on or adopt, but we could just say this much of our general fund millage will earmark for this particular purpose. And then as we see, contracting and growth in the general fund, that program would grow and contract and by a like amount.
Chair?
Yeah?
To that point, in the whole organic conversation of MSTUs, since our constitutionals, this job of this board is to manage its budget. And my thought process was, since the constitutionals don't have budget authority, they have their own MSTU, then it gives them a business case to come before this board to raise or lower their MSTU and have input over their MSTU. And engage them more in their budget process. They're duly elected, they have their shops to run. And I've always thought it was a bit disingenuous that they didn't have budgetary authority and all the onus falls on this board. So if constitutionals have their own MSTU, it gives them the ability to make a business case if they need more funding and to say, hey, county commission, we need a bump in our millage rate, or we're healthy, and they can come and say, please cut my millage rate to stay in line, and we're working together to cut taxes and save the taxpayer money. So that was the premise behind the constitutional idea that I brought up with county administrator. Again, it would be pulled off the general revenue, shrinking that general revenue portion, adding more transparency and accountability to the funds of the general revenue pot. And, again, it's just a restructuring of our budget and the way it's been managed. So that was my idea behind it.
I've talked about putting the sheriff, working towards an MSTU on the sheriff. Now, I hadn't thought about the whole budget, but that's the biggest one. That's where I would start first. That's the biggest one. And maybe we set it up and then next year have more discussions, or, roll one out a year, see how it goes. I don't know.
Madam
Thoughts?
Chairman,
Yeah?
if I can, it's really only the sheriff, I think, that you're going to be able to do the constitutionals as,
Yeah, and that's the
as
biggest.
an MSTU,
Yeah.
because tax collector's a fee officer.
Yeah.
Property appraiser has his budget approved by the Department of Revenue, not by this board. You just have to fund it. Clerk's office is half and half state funded, half county funded. Supervisor of elections, you're gonna have the fluctuation of his budget goes up in a election year and then goes down the next year, so you're gonna have the rollback rate issue for his budget. So I think that leaves you with the sheriff as the only one that it makes sense for. Completely up to the board.
Do we know if there's any other county that funds law enforcement like that?
We can research and report back.
I mean, I think there has to be a lot more,
But
a lot of discussion on that one.
Well, again, I think the MSTU, the same way it protects the parks budget, if you want to use the sheriff's budget as an example, it protects the sheriff's budget.
Yeah.
It gives him the compounding growth within the fund to use what the sheriff or future sheriffs need. And if it gets a little high, it gives that sheriff opportunity to come back and say, hey, I'm watching out for you taxpayer, roll it back a pinch. You know, and like Commissioner Mariano said with politics, the makeup of this board could change over time. And with the whole, we saw the defund the police movement and everything that goes into it. To mess with the MSTU, there's more opportunities for public comment, public engagement. It takes more than 3 votes to move the needle on these. It's an added layer of protection for a very critical service in this county. And I think it's the healthy way to go in the long run of the budget, the fund operation.
I'm willing to talk about it. Where are we on the public safety impact fee? Because we also want to.
Well, that's listed on this as a discussion item. I mean, we have the fire impact fee, which is undergoing review right now, but you do not have a all-encompassing public safety impact fee.
We need one.
Amy here will make a case when you look at some of these long-term capital expenses, but it's not a silver bullet there either, because some of these needs have been.
We should have been collecting that. We have to
correct.
build the jail. Growth is causing us to expand the jail. Growth is causing us to build a courthouse.
Correct.
Growth should be helping pay for these
She does have a slide
things.
that discusses that. So, I mean, you know, Amy, I don't know, you want to hit the last bullet, and then we can maybe get to that point.
Yeah. So my team did some research. We asked what counties had the sheriff or their sheriff law enforcement and MSTU. Alachua, Clay, DeSoto, Escambia, Glades, Marion, Pinellas, St. Lucia, and Volusia.
Pinellas?
Mm-hmm.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Can you get us some details on all
Yeah.
those
Yes,
companies, so we can take a look
absolutely.
and see how exactly they do it, whether it's like 8%, 20%,
Yeah.
whatever, and let's go take a look at it. I think the key is the transparency. What's going on in DC right now, everybody's looking at every single budget, every single item going through. I don't know how many pages of budget we get, 10, 15 pages, and I think Pinellas County, they get like 600 pages in a full day's presentation. Maybe.
It's more than one day.
Okay. So
It's
maybe,
a couple days
so
presentation.
and maybe that's what we need to get to, because I mean, we want to fund the police, we want to make sure our people are getting done, but we want to also make sure that the taxpayers are getting a good value too.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I know, you know, with the sheriff's office, they assist the cities a lot. So when we're talking about, you know, the cities, you know, joining forces with us, I really do, again, go back to feel like if we could collect that money from them, if we can get them on board, I think it's really important.
Well, some we've taken over, right? And then Port Richey and Newport Richey still have their own.
Yeah, we do.
Does Dade City still?
Dade City has its own police department. San Antonio, St. Leo are contracted.
Yeah, to the sheriff.
Services for the sheriff. If I might add just a comment, having lived through many of these same discussions back in the 90s as to sheriff's office, MSTUs, and a caution too to be considered is be sure you're looking at a charter versus a constitutional county where they, and the attorney will say, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. But again, Pasco not being a charter county, the statutes are very clear and are the underpinning baseline for your smaller counties and historical that have not gone to a charter as to how budgeting of constitutional officers can be done. And therefore, in order to change that and go away from that, you're looking at some significant statutory provisions, and God help me from using the word charter. When you write a charter county, then you change all the rules, basically, as to how you fund things.
Well, the legislature's looking at doing that anyway, so.
Madam Chairman.
Yeah.
If I can respond. So I think Mr. Clerk is correct in that used to be the way it was. But since the constitutional amendment that basically said that charter counties can't regulate their constitutionals, I think we're all sort of on the same footing. But it's an academic debate, it's not.
Can I just, Chase is here, can I bring him up 1 minute? Just, Chase, do you mind coming up?
Hot seat.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Chase does a good job.
I know, I want to hear from
Great
you
job.
since we're
Chase
talking
does a
about
great
you guys.
job.
Chase Daniels, Pasco Sheriff's Office, 8661 Citizens Drive, Newport Richey. Under Sheriff Community Outreach,
Not the
yes.
oversheriff, chief. Under, oh.
No, so thank you very much, Commissioner Yeager, and thank you for the discussion. So just a couple of points for us. As Commissioner Yeager noted, one of the big issues is that city issue, as Commissioner Mariano noted, with the parks, with 91% of the county being unincorporated. For instance, on Saturday, Newport Richey had a shooting on US 19 with an innocent bystander that was shot. They called us out to assist with that. They call us out frequently for forensics. To the point, there is Dade City, Zephyr Hills, Newport Richey, and Port Richey PD. But again, those are often small departments that we assist greatly with. So there would be some concern about the city aspect of that. And then, just in general regarding the budget, we have certainly heard loud and clear from the commission. So this year you will see a much more comprehensive budget. I know the sheriff has meetings scheduled with each of you as well in the next couple of weeks. We are looking this year, just so the board knows, guesstimating based on some very early numbers, that our entire budget increase this year is basically going to be taken up by $2 million in self-insurance cost, a projected $2.5 million in state-mandated retirement, $3.5 million in what we consider contract escalators. So bullets cost more, IT services cost more, uniforms cost more, and then we may have $1 million to $2 million left for raises. But we're preliminarily not looking at any new positions this year because of the constraints of that budget. But to that point, we're certainly open to discussion, if that's the board's desire. But like I said, the big thing would certainly be to make sure that we had those cities bought in as well, because we do assist a lot, and whenever someone calls 911, they don't necessarily want to hear, well, you don't pay into the MSTU, so we're not gonna respond. So that would be a significant point for us.
So if we heard right, this money comes before they get their CRA money. So in effect, I'd like to know those numbers, because in effect, we are getting some money that we would have been given them in the CRA. So that does help. And I do have a question. Are bullets and uniforms, what else did you say?
Bullets, uniform, and information technology, so like our cloud services.
That's not capital. Is that capital?
No, ma'am.
Okay, but are bullets and uniforms capital costs? Why not?
They're operational costs.
Oh, shoot. I was thinking that could be helped in an impact fee.
Amy could give us the strict definition, the accounting definition of what capital is, but that doesn't fit it.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Chase, first I want to say, I really appreciate being able to reach out to you every time we get an issue that goes on. You're always responded well, finding solutions, so I greatly appreciate the relationship. When you mentioned as far as going self-insurance, $2 million more, is this a good move or a bad move if we're spending more money?
So it is, I would hesitate to call it a bad move, but it's certainly impactful. So the sheriff's office, so we do fully self-insure our members, and we do not have reserves. So we have to make sure that every year our health insurance is fully capitalized. So unfortunately, we have had an issue this year where we had 2 of our members who passed after significant battles with cancer. As this board can imagine, certainly there are significant insurance costs that go along with that, which has significantly impacted our self-insurance fund. So we have to make sure that is going to be whole this year.
I don't know how our insurance works, but have you guys looked at maybe joining with us and say sometimes you spread out the risk better, it works out better? Have you guys looked at that?
We would certainly be open to that discussion. The one big issue with that is to make sure whenever it comes to catastrophic and reinsurance and things like that. But we would certainly be open to that discussion.
Too, right? Yeah, we're self-insured as well.
Yeah, we would certainly be open to that discussion because, like I said, whenever it comes to those reinsurance costs and catastrophics, last year, unfortunately, we did have a couple of catastrophics that did significantly impact our self-insurance fund. And so the business discussion for the sheriff and the sheriff's office as a whole is, at what point do we increase the cost on our members for the health insurance versus what we can cover? But, this year, like I said, we're looking at a fairly small raise that, so we are trying to avoid members losing money to increase their health insurance.
Have you guys joined with us with the clinics?
Yes, sir. So we are, we're part of the Care Here clinics with the school district.
Mr. Carballo, any thoughts on the joint health, bringing the sheriff in under our health insurance?
I mean, that's something.
Savings?
I mean, what the sheriff pays and how he self-insures and what he charges his members versus how we run our programs could be different. But
can we
if
get a
this board
meeting
and
on that?
sheriff are willing to do it and want us to sit down, I'll certainly take that direction and
I'm gonna take a look
forward.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, you know, they're,
Could be saving the money.
but it could increase ours because their job is very dangerous. So we just need to look at it all.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and we certainly appreciate. Like I said, we don't have those details. Like I said, the one thing for us would be, you know, we certainly would not want to necessarily impact that 40% of new revenue agreement either with that. So we could basically put those funds to better use, you know, additional positions, things like that.
Can I add that they have a no smoking policy and we don't?
We have
We do? We're not hiring any more smokers?
Well, we have a policy that essentially you don't get, you pay more if you're a smoker.
Okay, but you have a policy that you don't hire smokers.
Correct. We are strict non-smoking, and in fact, our first training campus. Sorry. So our first training campus, we have actually recently implemented a policy that we are not allowing even smoking on that campus. So if an outside entity comes in and they are doing a training on our training campus, it is a smoke-free campus completely. So.
I like that. Okay, good. Well, you know, lots of discussion. We're just trying to find the best way to move forward for our citizens and with the most transparency. And, you know, I am not nervous about what the governor wants to do because you can go to my favorite little book, How Florida Counties Compare, and you can see where we are on the numbers compared to the size of our county and the cost of our government services. We are killing it. I mean, we're doing very well. We are not a high tax county at all. So I feel very confident we will shine in any kind of government look-see in our county. So, okay, is there anything else? Did you want to go over anything else?
So there's still more to the presentation.
Okay, let's go. Keep going. You got 10 minutes.
Okay. Did my clicker fall asleep? Oh, okay. All right, so I'm not going to belabor this slide because we have already looked at it, but this is just a reminder of where our current levies sit and some change over the past 2 years. All right, so here we've got a list of long-term capital. Criminal courthouse, which we talked during the January 28th meeting, Public Safety Operations Center, consolidated records, which my understanding is our facilities team is working on a solution for that for us, so that will be removed here momentarily. Okay. And at least as of a month ago, the sheriff's top 3 project priorities going into this next year, and we do know that we've got a need internally in the county for additional fire stations to meet growth and all of that. So when we look at like I said, removing that consolidated records solution off the table as our facilities team is working on something for us, we're looking at roughly $394 million of need just with what you see up here. If we remove that Public Safety Operations Center because we find another way to possibly fund that, you're looking at roughly $244 million. So some options that we would have for funding that: public safety impact fee, general obligation bonds, other revenue bonds, things like that, that we would have to talk through. So that's another thing that we'd like to just kind of discuss with you all today, board's appetite for those things. And we do have some information in terms of if we were to go general obligation bond for any of these, what would that timeline look like? The earliest we could do a referendum would be the 2026 election. And if that passed, then we could start pulling down funding in 2027.
Well, do you have any numbers on the public safety impact fee?
No, that would require a study.
Yes.
And in fact, some of these, for example, if you were to look at your criminal courthouse, one might argue that that's been a deficit. And so it would be difficult to prove an impact fee for new builds going forward that they should pay something that's already been a deficit. So your impact fee, for example, in the courthouse, is just say you need 10 new courtrooms and you need 5 today. The impact fee could only cover those last 5. The first 5, we've already deferred.
Better than nothing.
We have to find a way to do that. That would probably be what Amy talks about, going towards a general obligation type bond or putting to the voters. But I guess the question is the board comfortable with the strategy? You know, does the board want to try to move with these projects? And if so, a funding strategy that would be a combination of a general referendum as well as impact fees to cover the large costs associated with these public safety items.
Chair?
Yeah.
So the big nuts, the criminal courthouse, public safety operations center, I think we need to put those up to the voters. I would like to take an overall look at the impact fee if it needs to be restructured. I'm not overly excited about increasing the impact fee.
We don't have one.
No, I know that. I'm not overly excited to increase the impact fee.
The net impact fee.
But by doing this, but I would be interested to take a closer look at the structure of the impact fee and what maybe needs updated or, you know.
Well, you can't update something we don't have.
Take over, look at it.
We don't have a public safety impact fee.
I understand that, but we might be higher in some areas than others. I think we need to take an overall look at the impact fee. I mean, we have some of the
see
high-
if
we have
there's-
correct. We have some of the highest impact fees around, and
It hasn't slowed us down.
and no, but it's hurt some people in this
Yeah.
county.
That's-
People that own land, they want to subdivide their land. They've had land for generations, and they can't afford the impact fee to subdivide their property and build a house on it. Anyway, that's a different discussion. So those are the way, go bond, I think a lot of these need to put up to the voters.
I have
And see what the voters want to see.
Commissioner
For
Yeager.
the EOC, some of that grant money we might be able to use.
We're hoping.
So so in the current universal notice, emergency operations centers and those types of facilities are specifically stricken. In other words, it can't based on the universal notice. However, we have been told that the federal government is rewriting that universal notice. We've been having conversations with our federal delegation and agencies about restructuring that universal notice to perhaps be a little more friendly to emergency operations centers.
Okay, because that would be helpful if we could take,
Oh, heck yeah.
you know, a big chunk out of that and then maybe help the criminal courthouse.
Yes, ma'am, we're pushing for that.
Okay.
And we learned in Washington when we were making the rounds that other counties, we need to connect with Hillsborough and Pinellas on that one because they both, apparently Pinellas also wants to expand theirs already. They would be in favor of this also, so.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I want to just touch on something that Commissioner Waitman brought up, because I think it's a really good thing to look at. We do have the highest impact fees, and I think that's helped out keep our taxes down. That's let growth pay for itself all the way through. But I think one of the best things we can do is we have families, while we're pushing these ADUs coming in, additional dwelling units, it helps a family keep people together. So whether someone's got a 20-acre parcel, they want to keep their family together on it, or whether it be 2-acre parcel going down an acre parcel, I think I would love to have us go take a look at an exemption or
Oh, I don't think we should
minimization.
be having impact fees for ADUs personally.
Well, not for ADUs, I agree with that, but I'm saying for, if I've got someone who's got 200 acres and I want to go put 10 acres over for one of my family members, there's really no impact with that family because they're still living there, but it gives them a separate way to go. And maybe David can look at it and think about it maybe this afternoon, talk about it a bit, but I think that's a really good way to go. And would justify, make it easier to say, okay, we're going to charge all the other folks that are coming in, just coming into the regular subdivisions that are really having an impact, and the other ones that aren't. And if we can keep us more rural and bigger lots, bigger estate lots, that's a good thing for this community in the long run anyway.
So Chase did just give me an update. So the District 3 expansion, the sheriff is trying to get some state appropriation dollars and
Which one is District 3? Remind me.
Trinity, it's co-located with the.
Oh, yeah, the one on Trinity Boulevard, they want to make that bigger. Okay.
And for the Wesley Chapel field office, they have been gifted some property that they're able to use. So our total ticket number just dropped down to 218 million.
Keep going.
What else do we got, guys? Audience, anything?
Well, we had a great meeting with Senator Scott and Bill Arakis and Lee's office, and I only heard positives that they thought that it made sense with this EOC rewrite. So I'm optimistic, and we need to talk with our lobbyists of who else do we need to talk to. I mean, who are the real people involved in that rewriting, which departments or who sits on the committees that are in charge of
We
that?
also had subsequent meetings too with FEMA, and FEMA's working it's a good vibe up in DC.
Very good vibe.
Okay.
Mariana, Commissioner Mariana.
We learned that, we were in one of the meetings with Walton County, and this wasn't on their agenda, and they said they had the southern accents, so, but I can't copy it. But they decided that was a really good idea, and they were gonna support it because their EOC is actually an old bomb shelter. They don't even have one, so they're like, yeah, we would be in support of that, because we don't even have an EOC. Yeah, and they're a coastal community that gets hit by hurricanes. So, okay. Anything else on that, Amy?
Nope, I think we heard what we need to hear to move forward with putting together a strategic package to then bring back to you all for consideration. All right, so we talked about the different merits of MSTUs, our approach to MSTUs. I'm pretty sure, Mike, we got the direction we need to move forward with that as well. And we engaged on our long-term capital needs and various funding mechanisms. So thank you again for your very important dialogue with us and direction so we can march forward and bring back some solutions to you.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Thank you for
From
what
you
you
all?
guys do, Amy.
Yeah.
You guys are
Thank you.
Okay, we will adjourn for lunch.
Recess.
Pasco County waterways and wildlife depend on you to keep them healthy. Excess fertilizer, grass clippings, trash, oils, and pet waste wash into gutters and storm drains when it rains.